Hello guys, Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM Reacts, episode number 658, and today I'm reacting to Purple Roads podcast, episode 72. Laurie Berkner, who is a children's musical artist of Jack's music show, something like that. I don't know. We'll just see what happens. Let's react to this beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour, and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show, Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Wow.
Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Carrie Stinson. And as always, I'm thrilled you're here. We're going to have so much fun this week. We have Laurie Berkner from the Laurie Berkner Band with us. And Laurie, how are you?
Wow.
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. I am thrilled to have you here. I love what you do. I think some of the stuff that I did with Barney, there's some definitely similarities when it comes to music and kids entertainment.
Absolutely.
There's so many places I want to go with this. I guess we'll start a little bit, and I know a little bit about your story, but how did you get into, let's say, entertainment and music before you got into children's music?
I guess it was when I was in college. I learned to play guitar, really, or maybe a little before that in high school, but I started playing in front of people.
Wow.
in college. And then I started to think it would be fun to write my own music. So I was playing in coffee houses and stuff when I graduated, and then I played in various bands. The one band that really, I had my own band, but also I actually made a little bit of money in an all-female cover band for a while. And just like, really, I just enjoy performing. And during that time, I also got a job as a preschool music teacher. So
wow.
I was able to like be with kids, which I really liked, and make music during the day, not just, as a day job. And then they started to overlap as I started to write
wow.
songs for the kids that I was working with.
Wow.
Did you see yourself going into kids? I mean, going full into this, or? No. Was it going to be rock and roll? Where was it?
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I wanted to be on Broadway. That was sort of a fantasy. And then I got older and realized there weren't as many Broadway shows. The old style ones were didn't feel natural to me. They, and I also didn't love as much having to play a role. I liked being myself on stage. So so I thought I would I thought I'd be like more like a rock star. And then that didn't work out that great. I mean, I definitely had some people come see me in some dive bars in Manhattan, but what I noticed, and people really liked the cover band that was called Lois Lane.
Wow.
She don't need no Superman. But the thing that was really interesting, we played a lot of lesbian bars and sports bars. So
wow.
like kind of one end or the other who wanted to see all women playing together. And
right.
Those gigs were like a lot of them on Long Island from 11 a.m. to 3 a.m., 11 p.m., sorry. The kids' gigs were at 11 a.m.
Right.
But it was many hours of a lot of people and us waiting for them to get drunk enough to really enjoy themselves, and a lot of yelling Freebird and, stuff
wow.
like that. And I found that once I started writing kids music, and I was also, I did parties for the kids who I was the music teacher for. A lot of the parents asked me, would you come and sing for my kid's birthday party? And after I started recording some of the songs that I had written, they were requesting them at
wow.
the birthday parties.
I
and
know.
It was actually really enjoyable to have someone go, play We're the Dinosaurs, play Victor Vito, instead of Freebird, which I didn't actually really know how to play.
Wow.
I thought that was a required song if you could be a cover band.
Not if you're an all-female cover band.
Wow.
Fair enough.
Probably. Actually, what was funny is that we did pretty much not play any all-female band songs. Like, we didn't do the Go-Go's, we didn't do Bananarama. It was a lot of kind of like
just heavy metal style for me. Continue on.
70s, 80s, and 90s, because this was in the 90s. So that was the modern music. And
yeah.
And I ended up, I guess realizing that I loved the energy of the kids. The kids, the families, they were so happy. They were so excited to be there. They're so immediately involved. They were so physical in their responses, and so genuine and loving in their responses. And it was so different than like drunk people and smoke and a lot of like, yeah, it was more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that gets old. That gets old doing that night after night.
Better hours too, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. We have in common with my Barney days. I started doing birthday parties as well,
Mm-hmm.
and so I know a lot about that. And it's an interesting. It's actually a really great place if you're going to get the kids' entertainment, children's entertainment to start, because you get a lot of that one-on-one, and you really get a feel for working with kids.
Yeah, I mean, being in the classroom was really helpful because that was where I saw like what songs were not written that I needed as a teacher.
Wow.
To engage the kids. Also basically for like classroom management. I wrote songs and would just change them in the middle if it wasn't working, or if I needed them to do something different, I would realize, I could just I didn't realize this from the beginning. Actually, the person whose job I took, I went to go watch her work with kids. She had been at the Rockefeller University's Child and Family Center for 10 years. And
wow.
She did Dalcroze Eurythmics with these kids. And she was amazing. She would just sit at the piano, 3-year-olds, and she would sing a song, and they would do everything that she sang about. And I started out that first year just like crying every night because I was so like didn't know how to talk to them, and I didn't know what they liked. I felt like they spoke a foreign language. I had worked with older kids, but not preschoolers, and I was also working with infants and toddlers, and I was overwhelmed. And she just looked at me after I came and watched her and said, "How you're like a magician? How do you do that?" She said, "Just put it in the music. Stop talking." And that was when I realized, okay, if they're like, starting to hit each other or something, I can just sing to have them do something else. And then they would get into it and do it. And that was like a huge, huge light bulb moment for me, and really helped me write the songs. The birthday parties were interesting because it was very different. They were kids are not as focused. Parents are distracted and want to talk to each other, and that's a real challenge. That I felt like the birthday parties were like, okay, how what are like the absolutely no miss songs, like how do I get, and what's a like really tight set list to go from one to the next, with a prop, without a prop, movement, like how do I create a set list that keeps these kids engaged for a half an hour when they're like, I want the cake, my mom is over there, this is not a classroom, I can just run away from you, I don't really care about this lady. Like it was really a place where I took my licks.
Wow.
But it makes you stronger, right? I mean, you learn so much doing that.
I learned a lot. Yeah.
When you were starting to write these songs for kids, was there something you felt needs to be upbeat? It needs to subject matters. Were you trying to teach lessons at the beginning? Kind of what was your goals when you were first starting writing music?
Yeah, I wasn't trying to. Well, teaching lessons that was less important to me. My goal was that the kids who came into my room wanted to come, were engaged when they came, had fun, and that being musical would begin, if it didn't already, for some reason they had like lost that connection to music already, which some of the 5 and 6 year olds were like embarrassed to dance or do there were different things, or kids who were younger that already had that like super organic connection to music, just to help them keep it. So I just wanted music to feel like it was part of who they were, and it was something that gave them pleasure and that they could use to express themselves. And a lot of that came through connecting music with their bodies. So, physical movement, I was noticing, especially the super young kids, some of them weren't even really talking yet. So they had been moving longer than they were using language. Putting movement into my songs made a connection for them in a way that a song that I kind of sang at them would not. Sometimes I needed quieter songs because they needed to come more inside themselves and calm down. Sometimes I sang more upbeat songs, different kinds of movements. Sometimes I actually wrote songs about certain subjects because the kids were putting on a little show at the end of the year or something. So it just kind of depended. But all the time I wanted them to mostly I wanted music to be fun. So they would leave school, their time with me, feeling like they really felt comfortable and loved music.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We did a lot of that, a lot of hand gestures and a lot of things that the kids could do along, keeping it simple. But it was one of the keys, and music was absolutely a key with this.
Sure.
So you write some songs, do the birthday parties, and then what comes about next?
Well, I made these cassette tapes, and at the parties, parents would say, do you have like tapes or something I could give out as a party favor? So they would buy them, spread them to kids who I was not the teacher of, and then those kids would listen to the tapes and ask their parents if they could have me do their party. So that got bigger. I started teaching at a lot of different places. There were a lot of parents who were very supportive. I had one parent who literally kind of tricked me one day, said I was moving to the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and she said, oh, I want to show you some of the different stores around here. You should get to know the area. Oh, and could you bring a couple of those cassettes? Sure. Okay. So I'll walk around with her and her son.
Wow.
And we stop into a toy store, and she walked right up to the counter and said, is there a manager here? Yes, I'm the manager. This is Laurie Berkner, and she has this amazing cassette. I think you should sell it here. Why don't you take one and give a listen to it? Her phone number's on the back, and you can call her.
Wow.
And I'm ready to drop through the floor.
Man.
But people did stuff like that. They were just, I've been very lucky to have a lot of support along the way. And that little Upper West Side store, it was West Side Kids. There were a few other places, took my cassettes, sold them on consignment. Eventually, some places and then eventually they started buying them from me. And I had some of these store owners who brought them to conventions and shared them with friends who had stores across the country. So they started selling in stores, and eventually a lot of things happened. But I got onto the Today Show because a local parent was a line producer, and she pitched me to the executive producer of the show. Actually, that person turned her down. And then a new executive producer came in. She pitched me again. I didn't even know her. And she had gotten one of my CDs at a birthday party. And she passed it on. And this guy said, oh, I live on the Upper West Side. I've been to birthday parties with this woman.
Wow.
And sure, let's have her do a concert in the plaza.
Wow.
And at that time, I'd also done a couple of fancy birthday parties. Madonna's daughter, Lourdes, and I think Sting's son was at that party, so then I did Sting's son's birthday party. So they were like, oh, you've done these like celebrity things, let's make a big deal about that. And they did like a behind the music of this kid's entertainer, which was me.
Yeah, Behind the Music, which is VH1, but now known as Paramount Plus. Continue on.
And so that was like a big deal. And then eventually I ended up also connecting with someone who was helping to create the Noggin channel, which was the precursor to Nick Jr.
Yeah, which is helpful. Continue on.
They were trying to be somewhat, the preschool on TV, educational. And they asked, this woman like took me to breakfast, and I said, yeah, I was on the Today Show once, and God, my sales went through the roof that day. I was, top of Amazon's charts for, a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, that was a very big deal. Not the kids' charts, like everything. And
yeah.
And she said, why don't we, like, I want you to, we're trying to build this channel, and why don't we, like, I want to use you in this new show we're creating. It was, it turned out to be a Jack's Big Music Show. But
yeah, which is big, which I said, I don't know, earlier in the episode. Let me check. Big Music Show. It was created by these three. I'm not sure who did guest stars. Let me check who it is. It's Steve Burns. I'm not sure. Oh, there she is. Never mind. Continue on.
Let's also make a few more videos and just run them as interstitials. We have something called Move to the Music. Let's see what happens. And then it was like, everything exploded. I was pregnant and I was about to stop touring, and suddenly all my shows were selling out in like 2 hours because people were watching this channel, and there were only 3 kids 24-hour cable channels at that point. And so a lot of people saw what I was doing. And there are a lot of stories like that kind of each step took me a little bit farther in my career. And that was a big one, being on Noggin, and eventually being part of Jack's Big Music Show, where we were sort of like the house band because we were in
which is now on Paramount Plus at that time. Continue on.
Almost all the episodes.
So because I'm listening to this story, and you live this story, and you've got to be thinking, what's happening here? I mean, someone wants to do this, and then this happens, and it's usually the way you become successful. But these things are happening, and then, when you mentioned the Today Show, big deal. Performing the Plaza is even a bigger deal.
Yeah.
And I've learned from, we've done some things for celebrities as well. And they're really just parents when it comes into it. They just want their kids to be entertained. And so I totally get all that. But are you just like, I just got to keep going, and I'm not going to say, I mean, things are happening almost out of your control. Just good things are happening.
Yeah, I mean, so that is over a very long period of time.
Sure.
And no, I don't mean to be dismissing what you're saying. I'm just trying to give some perspective to anyone who's watching or listening to this, because I mean, I thought about that a lot. There were a lot of steps to it. Like early on, I didn't know what to do with my cassette, and I actually like just called out a bunch of my friends together, and I said, okay, you're going to be my board of directors. Like, tell me what I should do. I was still teaching. I taught for 10 years. And in that time, definitely good things were happening, but none of this stuff had happened yet. So I'd been working for a very long time. I think the Today Show happened. I'd already made 3 children's albums.
Wow.
And there were a lot of, like, locally good things were happening. I had lots of, I had a lot of work. I had so many birthday parties that I ended up quitting I think pretty much all of my teaching jobs just to do birthday parties, because it felt like I could do these, as much and make money from it, and still be trying to kind of run a record label. And yeah, there were some crazy things that happened, but it also felt like I remember being on the Today Show that first time and standing there in the plaza, and there are like people with signs for me and stuff, and which was great. I mean, it was 5 a.m. or something. It was very, very early. They do all this. And I looked out, and when we got to the moment where we were going to go live, I mean, it's live. And I thought, okay, millions of people are about to watch me sing. I think it was Buzz Buzz was maybe the first song. And and there was a guy with his headphones on, and he said, okay, I'm going to count down, and then you just go, right? And we went 5, 4, 3. And I started playing, and I thought, I'm so scared. Wait a minute. I've done this a million times. Like, I totally know how to do this. And all these people are here to watch it. Like, they're here because they're excited about it. And suddenly I felt like, oh, this was like, this is what I'm meant to be doing this right now. And a lot of, I feel like that's happened a lot of times. And I don't mean that in a, I mean it in just like, I don't mean it in like a self-aggrandizing way. It's just more of like, oh, I've spent so many years thinking about these kids and working with them and being somebody who loves to perform and make music. And if I think too hard about everything that's going on, it is kind of overwhelming. And then, but if I just stay in the present about like, oh, I'm doing this thing that actually feels very natural and enjoyable to me, and I can see that it's creating pleasure too, and there's this wonderful like giving and receiving that's happening, then it just feels good. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that's more of my experience is like, yeah, I'm just doing this thing that I really like to do, that I feel like I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, and I love that because we have a lot of people that watch this show that want to get into the industry, and so we talk a lot about, we all here know, and we all have these different things that happen that we push through or things happen where you finally get to the chance where you break through.
Yeah.
Now, when you were doing the Today Show, at that point, was that just you? Or did you have the band at that point, or it was just you?
It was myself, my husband now. I'm not sure if we were married yet the first time we did it. I think we might have just gotten married. Brian Mueller, he was my the first bass player, and Susie Lampert, who still plays keyboards with me. So it's the three of us. I've since added Bob Golden on drums, and we've had 2 other bass players. Now I'm with Brady Reimer, who also has great kids music of his own.
Yeah.
Did it always need to be a band? Did you always want it to be a band?
That's a good question. When I was doing it by myself, the very first time I did a show of my kids' music, I'd made that first cassette. I'd been teaching for a few years, and a mom said, my kids go to this preschool, and we could put on a benefit show. You could play. We'll give you like a certain set amount of money, but then we'll charge a lot of money for the tickets to all the parents, and then we'll keep all the rest, and we'll sell a bunch of snacks and stuff, and it'll be great for everybody. And I thought, oh, okay, wonderful. So I went and I played it by myself, and I thought, oh my God, I had been in bands for years at that point, and I was like, I don't think I ever want to do that again by myself.
Yeah.
It was so hard. So I called Susie, who was in Lois Lane with me, and I said, you played piano on the album with me. Will you come and start playing shows with me? So for a long time, it was just the 2 of us.
Yeah.
And then I guess Brian and I were married, because after we got married, he said, I love you and Susie, but you have no bottom end on your sound. You're 2 women singing and playing. She can kind of play down there on the keyboard, but like, he was a violist, violinist, guitar player, and he played bass in a friend's band, and he was like, I could play bass for you guys. So he joined. And that was felt so supportive to me. Now, interestingly, I guess I'm trying to remember how many years ago now, after Jack's Big Music Show had been off the air for quite a while, and just like kids grew up, new families have kids. Of course, you know all about this, like that turnover with the age group that we are thinking, we're making content for. I had fewer people knowing who I was, and so it was harder to be able to afford to have a band, even especially once I had four of us. So I started doing a lot of solo shows, and now, and certainly during the pandemic, man, I have really remembered what it's like to do solo shows. I was doing a Facebook Live every day. I guess we did 70 or 80 of them before I started to do them less often. But getting up and just like remembering what it was like to really just be me playing the guitar and singing with kids and families, it's been really fun. And I've never had that feeling again of like, oh man, I don't ever want to do this. There are things that I really miss about playing with the band, and there are things that are great about playing solo. There's a freedom in it.
Wow.
The band is incredible at following me when I just like go off and do something else, which is really wonderful.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's not always the nicest thing to do to suddenly to the rest of the band. And we do, we have a lot of time that we need to just being together and rehearsing and planning out the shows and stuff it's very different when I'm doing it by myself. So, I also really love playing with other musicians. So I feel lucky that I've been able to do that.
So I noticed a lot, watching a lot of your videos, and I noticed you got creative like a lot of musicians did and entertainers during COVID. Doing Facebook Live, doing Zoom, doing your videos, things of that nature. And I saw the video that you did about wearing a mask. And, I thought that was so interesting because that's such a tricky subject. It was a tricky subject at the beginning, and then when do you want to jump into it and how far you jump in, all of those things. And I thought you did such a great job with that. Is it difficult, or when you're writing something like that, is it, I got to get the content in first and then make it fun, or do I start off being fun and then go there? Because I noticed you were doing the different colored masks and all of that, and I think that's the part that the kids are going to really react to. So really curious where you come up with those things.
So with that, there are different steps, right? So first it was writing the song. And so the video, you're talking about seeing the video where the masks were different colors.
That's right, blue and the polka dots.
So very secondary step was the video. The first thing was, how do I make a song that is informative without leaving the kids out? Like it includes the kids, so they're learning something from it that is, sort of age appropriate.
Sure.
That is not, it's not trying to tell people what to do, but giving kids agency over what they are choosing to do. How do I do it so that it can be, with the mask song in particular, it was, I thought about this so much because it was like, okay, some kids will have to wear a mask. They will not be able to go to school or into certain places without a mask. So people are going to need a song that's going to help them get it on their face and not want to rip it off.
Wow.
So the first thought was like, how do I make a mask fun? And that was when I thought, okay, superhero mask. And that actually came second after I had already written the superhero hand washing song. And all of that came out of when I was doing these Facebook Lives and I was saying, you're all superheroes because by staying home, we are helping each other and we're saving lives. We're saving each other.
Yeah, although I wasn't paying attention to this, though, it really sucks when it says please stay safe this weekend. Thank you, and good night. And now, so I just freaked out saying, what the hell we're gonna do. And June the 1st came, and I came back to work. So there you go. I just feel like I really need to do something. And a year passed on, finally happened. Continue for no COVID reasons. Continue on.
And so then I thought, well, if they're washing their hands, that's also being a superhero. And then it just made sense to also create a mask. And then that worked great because, of course, a lot of superheroes wear masks.
Yeah.
So it was like a costume in that way. And that felt like, okay, this is a good, I think this is going to be a good idea. So then writing the song, which was, it had to be simple enough that a kid could sing it right away, that a grown-up could sing it who felt like they were not musical. So any teacher, any parent, it had to be short enough that they could remember it easily and use it to get the mask on. But they also, I wanted teachers or parents, if they had a group of kids and they were all wearing their masks and they wanted to sing about it, to emphasize that it was a positive thing, to still be able to sing the song even though the mask was already on. So I wrote it so that you could do it either way. And I'm trying to think what else. There were just I just thought about so many things with it. So those are a lot of the main ones. And so then once I had written the song, I have an incredible team of people who help me, who run my business, and I'm supposed to be running it, but I don't really. They do it. I try to be
help.
Right, totally. Oh God, do I need help? But so there's a young woman named Katie who has been my like COO of Two Tomatoes Records.
Wow.
For a while now, and she and her partner bought an RV, and so I have a place in Manhattan and a place upstate. I am upstate right now. We had bought it very recently, and then it just was like, oh, this could be a better place for me to actually. I have space up here. My apartment in Manhattan is very small, and up here I was able to actually do the Facebook lives and live streams that we ended up doing because I had room to like have equipment and things like that. So anyway, Katie and her partner bought an RV and moved into our driveway in the RV.
Wow.
And so I had like a built-in team basically of people here, just two, but you know, my husband is a therapist now. Brian stopped playing with me, like I said, some years ago, and we have a now teenage daughter, and they were both, you know, they're very supportive and not super interested in doing things with me around kids' music anymore, unless like Lucy's having me make a TikTok or something, which she does. But Katie and Jeremiah became like my crew, basically. So the craziness that you see behind me is because we have a green screen set up in this room. I do cameos and videos for social media, or we make videos in this room, and we have there's a living room downstairs that we actually like hang a backdrop across where the curtains are, and move all the furniture out and film in there, and it looks like I'm on a stage kind of, when we do the live streams, and they've been incredible at helping me transform this space and use it. So I don't even remember what your question was.
Well, no, you're right on it. You're right on it. And I'll just finish with that. So do you play that song to them, to your family, to your husband? Do you play that and kind of get a thumbs up, thumbs down, or do you just throw it out there?
Oh, so I play it to Brian and Lucy more for fun. They're like, yay, they don't really give me feedback. Right. But Katie, I have other people who work for me remotely. So I do have a team of like 5 people, and at least 3 of them or 4 of them will I will, when I write songs, I'll play them for them now and say, okay, is there anything that I need to be conscious of in this? Like one time I wrote a song I called it Magic Fingers, and Katie was like, no, you cannot call a song Magic Fingers.
Yeah.
Just like they keep the sexual stuff out of it, and also, is it easy for them to learn it? They're not musicians. No, I just want to know, like, what do you think? What do you get from this? And it helps me practice actually singing it to somebody.
Right.
I used to sing. I used to go to like daycare sometimes and sing with kids just to kind of keep that sense of when I was a preschool music teacher, like what it's like when I sing a song to a bunch of kids. How do they react? That's like golden. There's nothing better than that for helping me learn what makes a good song. But I didn't have that luxury this year, so yeah, I sang it for them, and I know I changed a few things around, like what was easier to say, what was easier to remember because of their feedback. But yeah, so then once the song was written, then Katie, which is why I brought all this up, filmed me doing the video, and it was her idea. She was like, we could do it on green screen, and you could wear a green mask, and then I can change the color of the mask. It didn't work that great because it looked a little funny when I was moving. So we did that only a little bit. We also bought like 20 other masks that were all different colors and designs just to make it fun, because that's another part of it. Oh, that was the other part of the song, was I made it so this is my superhero mask. It keeps us both safe. My mask is, and then they can say, you can go around the room and every kid can talk about their mask or sing something about their mask, so that it's personal and there's a feeling of ownership for them.
Yeah.
And I wear it on my face. So that was another part of trying to make it something that kids would connect to.
Because that's really the key, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is that connection you can have with them. It's interesting, because I was curious if you get it. So the visual part really is later. You're not really thinking about that when you're writing this.
I think a little bit about it now. I never used to. Never, ever. But because it's been long enough now that I know I have to pretty much make a video for almost any song that I want to really get out there, I do think about it. And often Katie will say, when you write this song, think about this visual aspect of it, because I'm going to be making the video.
Man.
And it's helpful. She reminds me to have that, incorporate that as part of my process.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that your YouTube and all that has done really well. That it's really been a connection to people. Is that interesting that you start out on a cassette tape and now we are doing YouTube, and that's kind of the new medium of how to get yourself out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's been very interesting to me because, way before that was videos on Noggin and Nick Jr. and being on Jack's Big Music Show, and I really had to pictures. Like I just really had to get comfortable with seeing myself all the time, like in pictures, doing photo shoots, pictures for promotional things, and the videos, and then not only so there was sort of this progression from videos on cable channels to being part of the TV show, and doing news things and publicity stuff to social media and YouTube. Like not just YouTube, but like, hi, it's me, Laurie Berkner, blah, 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 and I'm doing a thing, and I'm constantly seeing myself on video. And there were many years where I thought, God, I just wanted to be a musician. I didn't want to have to think about what I look like so much. I didn't want to care about that as much as I end up caring, because I see myself all the time, and it's a very vulnerable place to be constantly sort of showing. I mean, now, like, especially this last year, like people seeing where I live, and just a lot of stuff that I never ever expected to be part of my career. I've gotten a lot more used to it and more relaxed about it, but it's hard. I think also, I don't know if it's harder for women, but I kind of imagine that it is. Like there's a lot of in certain ways, like expectations about staying young looking. And I mean, I'm in my 50s now, you know, and sometimes I think like, why don't I just go gray? And then I think, oh, I don't want to look like the kid's grandmother quite yet. Like, I'd rather still look a little bit closer to the mom's age, maybe in like 5 or 10 years or something, you know. So, but it's a lot. I think about it a lot.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because we just had, coming up in a future episode, we had Sharon, from Sharon Lewis and Bram, who have been around. She's 78 years old, and she
which I haven't watched it yet. Sharon Lewis, you know. Let me just check how old she. Yeah, she is 78, according to I'm taking it from. But, however, yes, I was right. She was 78. Yeah. And she was in a show called Zachary the Next Generation. But she's also in the CBC television show. This is happening. She began her career at Cowboy Spin with a special on the September 11 attacks in 9/11. So, yeah. And it's freaking shocking to me. Continue on.
Still out there going. So I think that's the interesting part with kids' music. I understand your point, and I think it's a very good one. But I also think with kids, it's what you're doing. It's the songs, and it's the actions, and it's the things of that nature. I also think it's interesting you say that, because watching your videos, I think that's one of the things that makes it so great. I noticed you had your little Berkner break in the middle of it, and the things you're doing, but I think that's what makes it fun.
Oh, it's Sherry Lewis. Okay. Oh, yeah. I see. Hold on. Born 1943. Oh, I see. Continue on.
And I
Oh,
really,
you mentioned Sharon Lewis. Okay. Comment below what you were thinking. She mentioned. Continue on.
really noticed that about your videos. Lots of color, lots of things going on that make it entertaining, and which has got to be difficult with kids these days, because attention spans are, you know, they're like that, and you're now creating all the videos, right? I mean, you almost don't need a network.
Yeah.
These days, you gotta be your own.
Right. I mean, it's a lot of. It is very different, and it's true. I don't need that, and like having a show on the Disney Channel or something where people are on Disney Plus, like it's not the network so much, right? It's like being somewhere where people, a platform that somebody is going to look for kids things, and there's a lot of marketing money behind the shows themselves. It's hard to compete with that, and like, you know, there are a lot of ways to get out there. It's just I'm a small company, and I overwork everybody as it is, so it's just a balance to try to strike. But I've been super lucky. I had that connection with Nick Jr. for a while, and that really propelled me to a place that I never would have been if I hadn't done that first. And I was going to say something else. Also, I work with another a much larger label now that also helps with like distributing the music so that it's on every streaming platform across the world in a way that I wasn't really able to do by myself very effectively. So that kind of support is really helpful, but it can come from a lot of places.
Yeah, that is got to be interesting, right? That you kind of have to go from that balance of, I can do some of this by myself, and then what parts do I need help to get out there? Um, what has it been like not being able to get on stage for the last over a year, getting out in front of the audience?
I mean, I've done more performances this year than I have in like many years combined. So it doesn't feel so different. It's just that I'm doing it into into a phone.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple shows coming up this summer, in person outdoor shows, and I'm excited and a little nervous.
Okay.
I think I will hopefully just have that same experience that I had, like like described from the Today Show, where I just get out there and it's like, oh yeah, I know, I totally know how to do this. I forgot, but I always feel a little nervous before every single thing that I do, and which I think helps me kind of stay on my toes.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's just, there's a lot of work that goes into remembering how I want to connect with the kids, remembering the music. And then there's also the muscle memory of, I've played this song literally thousands of times. And then sometimes I'm like relying on that, and then it just goes away. Sometimes I'll sing some song that I wrote 20 years ago that I've probably played at every show, and suddenly I won't know where I am in the song. And I just know that can happen to me. I think part of it is I can be very in the moment. Like I write songs sometimes at night, like in my notebook, and I will go back a few weeks later and I'll have no memory of having written it down. And it's just like, okay, I'm just like doing my thing. Okay, I'll look at that later. So it's real that I'm a little nervous before each show, because I really don't know what's gonna happen. But I feel that way about the live ones that are coming up, and all the the in-person ones, and all the ones that I've been doing since then. I am excited in a lot of ways to just be able to hear people while I'm performing again, like watch people reacting to me, reacting to the music, enjoying their own bodies, singing, having that experience with each other because they're all having fun. I don't get to see it. And that is that I miss. I mean, there's like chats and people are writing things in, and I'm whatever, if I'm doing shout outs or interacting, even like we do these ticketed live streams now that are full hour and 20-minute shows, and those have like people are answering little questions and playing games, and I can see some of that happening, but it's so removed from like the energy of having live people in the same space together, all sharing the experience of music together. That is something I do miss very much.
I would guess so. I would guess it'd have to be so difficult, because to play a song finish and there's nothing, or there's the screen blowing up with hearts or something. It's gotta take some getting used to.
Exactly it. Well, the thing is, what's so interesting about it is that it's the same as when I'm making videos.
Okay.
Like I've made so many videos, and when I'm doing them, I look into the camera and I'm thinking, like, I'm singing. You are a 4-year-old who is watching me, and it's just you and me. That's it. That's what's happening right now, and like that's really what I'm thinking about. So when I'm doing the live shows and I don't see or hear anybody. It's kind of the same. And when it's over, it's like, oh, okay, I just did that. What's the next song? I think when there is that experience of people really like being there, I'll get all the things that I'm kind of forgetting that I miss. Like I don't even remember exactly how it feels anymore, honestly. And I know I loved it. So, I mean, it's, I don't know if you feel this way, but like, so much of becoming a performer is like that incredible, like wonderful feeling and energy that we get from people who are appreciating what we're giving out. And that is something that, I mean, when I was a kid, I used to put on shows in my backyard. Like that's something I've always really, really loved doing and loved. I mean, what can I say? Like people clapping.
Right.
Feels good.
There's nothing that beats it. I did it for 10 years. I did promotion for 5, and then I toured around the world for 5 years, and then I did the TV show for 12. And I love the TV show. I love the experience of it. But it is. It's, you know.
But you know, totally. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And so you do these big movements and you do these big numbers on TV, and then it's cut, and you hear lunch or something, and there's nothing, right? They all know you, and you've probably done it 10 times, and then it goes in, on TV, and you don't see, so you never get the reaction to it.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, the being on the thing where it goes on TV, that's so interesting, right? Because a lot of people, I feel like for so many years, it may be different now, but when I first started, a lot of people were like, God, you're on TV all the time. Isn't that exhausting? And it's filmed. Like, I don't have to do anything. It's the opposite, right? I did it. It took me 3 days over the course of a week or two, and now I'm done. And like, it just keeps going and lives on without me. And I'm trying to figure out what my next step is.
Absolutely. I was, it's funny because after being on the road for so long, I was ready to go home. And then I was home for a while, and I was like, I don't want to go back on the road a little bit and do those, because there is nothing like jumping out there, especially with kids, because they're so appreciative. They can tell when you're authentic, and it's just hard to even explain. All my friends, everyone, when I was younger, I wasn't married, I didn't have any kids, and so they're like, what is going on here? Explain this to us. And to do a 30-minute show where the kids know everything, they know all the dance moves, they know all the words, and they're hugging their parents, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
And I can see that with everything you're doing. I love that you've really incorporated all the hand movements and the things that you brought it interactive to the kids. Is that something that you write a song, like we would do something like Mr. Knickerbocker, and then we come up with the motions? Or are you thinking motions kind of, and I'll write something to it? Or does it happen sometimes one way and sometimes the other?
Yeah, very much. Sometimes one way, sometimes the other. If usually when there are hand motions to a song, those come after for me. But sometimes I'll say, I want to write a song that has a lot of jumping in it or something, like more of those sort of like larger gross motor movements. I'll think about like, okay, I want there to be something where kids can get up and use their bodies. And so how do I make that part of this song? A lot of times, writing any of these songs, I feel like sometimes it's just some random thing that I hear a kid say, or a random thing that I'm thinking or that I remember from when I was younger that I think was funny, and then I sort of build that out into a song. I was thinking about like there's a song called "I'm Gonna Catch You" that I wrote, and that was actually like I just was walking outside, literally walking around, like trying to listen and looking for kids, thinking like I need a new song for the kids where I'm teaching, and I don't know what to write about, so I'm just gonna like eavesdrop and kind of hang out where kids are. And I saw some dad, I always say that I hope it was a dad, running after his daughter, going, "I'm gonna catch you, you better run, I'm gonna catch you, here I come." And I was like, oh, there's my chorus, great. I went home.
Man.
And the girl was like just laughing and bubbling over with like excitement and happiness and like anticipation at the fact that she might get caught by this person who she loved, right? And who loved her. So there's just something so beautiful about that. And there's so many, I remember a time where I was teaching and I said, we were sitting at the circle and I was about to start playing something, and this little boy said, "Laurie, I have a song in my tummy and it wants to come out. And I was like, I've got a song in my tummy and it wants to come out. I got a song in my tummy. What does it sound like? You know, like, okay, I got a song in my head. And it just, like, the natural, first of all, kids being natural songwriters. I mean, to me, nobody can do better than that. And, but sometimes it's just, like, I have some sound the way that I'm playing guitar, and it's like, oh, that's kind of a fun beat. What could I do to that? Or I'm walking around and like I have a song we just are putting up. We're making this video right now. It's called "Did You Go to Ohio?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was literally like washing the dishes, and I don't know why I just started going, "Did you go to Ohio? Oh, yes, I went to Ohio, and when I went to Ohio, people were so nice, you know." And oh, okay. so anyway, there are different ways that they pop out.
And I love that. I watched the jumping jacks one.
Yeah, that was when I was like, oh, jumping jack. Wouldn't it be cool if it was actually like a person or a animal that was named Jack and liked to jump? So, but yes, what were you going to say about
No. What's great about that is that you get kids doing exercise. They don't know they're doing exercise.
Right. Yeah.
They're just having fun. The video puts it there. I almost got out of my chair and started doing jumping jacks. I mean, those are the things that are so great about it.
Yeah.
And I love that. I absolutely love that. So what's next? Some shows coming up, videos. Is there somewhere you want to go next? Something you want to do? Something, or you just keep going?
Well, I mean, yes, there's a lot of keeping going. Right now, I am finishing writing the final chapters for. I have an original Audible original series that came out a couple of years ago called Laurie Berkner's Song and Story Kitchen. So I've taken,
which, by the way, I have saw Wikipedia. Continue on.
Characters from my songs, made them into characters in this show, and there are 10 chapters, like 20 to 30 minute episodes, where I'm in the kitchen I have a song called Pig on Her Head. So I have a pig who's my friend Bologna's pig. We make things in the kitchen together, and a conflict or an idea or something comes up, and then I tell him a story about the rest of the characters who live in a magical world that's called Juniper Fields. So he jumps on my head, and that transports us to Juniper Fields, and there's all the way through, there's music, and sort of tell the story, then come back to the kitchen, and hopefully have kind of solve whatever the problem was and finish making the food and say goodbye. And so that was really fun to write, and seemed to really connect with a lot of kids. So they asked me to do a second season. So I'm finishing writing that now, and that would come up later this year. Okay. I've also done some off-Broadway musicals with a group called New York City Children's Theater, and the most recent one we did was a musical version of a book called Interstellar Cinderella, which was like a futuristic Cinderella story. So we're going to probably be working on a second, a sequel to that coming up as well. And yeah, just playing, and I just feel like there are always a million things going on and to do, and I can never really quite do them all. But it's all fun. I mean, recently I started a TikTok channel. So, and I've been sort of telling stories about the songs that I wrote that people know, and that has been very enjoyable because a lot of the people on there were like, they're teenagers now, but they were kids when Jack's Big Music Show came out. So I'm sure you've had this too, like the nostalgia aspect, right, of what they loved when they were kids. And it's a beautiful place to connect with people. Also, a lot of kids with special needs. I know Barney, that's a huge thing. That was a huge thing. And that is also, that's been true for my music as well. So all these different places that I actually am finding ways to connect with people that I haven't been connected to in a while, but still remember the music. It feels really good and satisfying. And then of course, new families, new kids with things like the Audible Project. So yeah, just keep on going.
It really is amazing because in fact, Purple Roads gets a lot of autistic kids. They grew up with
Like
Barney
me.
and loves a lot of these things, and it's awesome to hear from them. Just hearing, doing this show, I've heard from fans of Barney that said, I didn't get it and I didn't like it, but I like it now and I get it now.
Yeah.
And that stuff is really interesting as well, and I really love hearing those things. Laurie, I can't tell you, this has just been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. For me too. I really appreciate that you asked me to join you.
Well, I love what you do. I love what you're doing, and I just can't wait to see what's next. And I'm excited for you to get back out on the road.
Thanks. Me too. Oh yeah, actually, can I say real quickly the two shows that I know? July 23rd, I'll be at the New Jersey Lottery Festival of Ballooning. So it's like hot air balloon festival outdoors. They have stage there. They do a lot of musical performances, and that's on a Friday. And then on August 7th, I'll be at the Ravinia Festival in Chicagoland, which it'll be my 10th time performing at that festival. And it's an incredible, beautiful outdoor venue and really fun. So hopefully if people in the area, they will come and enjoy the music.
I think you're going to have a ton of people. I think everyone can't wait to get out again.
No.
Me too. I hope so.
And we'll also put links to your sites and everything here on Purple Roads and get that out there so we can get everyone out to go see you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Laurie.
Totally my pleasure.
And thank you for watching Purple Roads. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you'll find your Purple Road. We'll see you next week.
So that was Purple Roads, episode number 32. Laurie Berkner, children's musical artist. What do I think about this episode? It was amazing. So far, this episode went to be a success. Anyways, guys, that was for LJPCBM episode number 658. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one. It's going to be Storyfire Stories from Lucas the Cool Guy. This will be 5-part episode story long show from series, something like that, where I can read you stories from Lucas the Cool Guy on Storyfire website. So be on lookout for those. Till next time, so Joe's goodbye. Peace out, baby. Good morning, LJPCBM, guys, pretty soon. Till then, Joe's out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. I ask, why me? Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.